He saw her, decided she didn't belong, and orders her to get out of the pool. Under the scorching Temecula sun, Patrice Holman, a black woman and the city's police chief, sought a moment of peace at her community pool. But a new neighbor, Dennis Whitlow, saw her and decided she didn't belong, ordering her to leave. What he didn't know? She'd lived there for nearly a decade, and her badge carried more authority than his assumptions ever could. This is a story of racism, resilience, and the quiet power of a woman who refused to be diminished. Welcome to the channel, and today, we dive deep into a raging encounter. This one is hot, and if you haven't joined the family, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more chilling stories. Now, let's get into it. She's 52, a black woman who served as Temecula's police chief for over a decade, but today, she's off duty. No uniform, no badge, just a long-sleeved tee, black capri joggers, and a quick bun. She's lived in this gated community for 9 years, a quiet, middle-income haven of families and retirees where she knows every neighbor by name. The shared pool is her refuge after 3 weeks of grueling shifts in City Hall politics. She grabs a water bottle, slides on sandals, and heads down the short path, expecting a quiet afternoon. But as she settles into a lounge chair, a white man approaches, his eyes narrow with suspicion, ready to challenge her right to be there. Patrice waves at Louise, the college-aged lifeguard, who nods back with a familiar, "Good afternoon, Miss Holman." She smiles, settling into a chair near the shallow end, the sun warm on her skin. The pool is half full, kids splash near the edge, a young mom coaxes her toddler into floaties, and a couple of retirees read paperbacks. Patrice closes her eyes, letting the rhythmic splashing and bursts of laughter wash over her. She's not thinking about the late reports at the station or the budget fights at City Hall, just the peace she's earned. But then, heavy footsteps interrupt her calm. She opens her eyes to see a tall white man in khaki shorts and a tucked-in polo standing too close to her chair. His name is Dennis Whitlow, a new resident, and his voice drips with polite sarcasm. "Excuse me," he says, folding his arms. "Do you live here?" Patrice blinks, sitting up slightly. "Yeah, I do," she replies, her tone steady. Dennis scoffs, his eyes narrowing. "Really? Because I've never seen you here before. This pool's for residents only." Patrice studies him. A newly printed HOA pamphlet peeks from his pocket, and there's not a drop of sweat on him. He's new, she realizes. Maybe his first summer here. "I live 3 houses down," she says calmly. "Been here almost a decade." Dennis gives a short, humorless laugh. "Right. And you just happened to wander in?" Her jaw tightens, but her voice stays even. "No, I use the gate like everyone else." Dennis steps closer, his posture rigid, like a man who expects compliance. "We've had issues with people sneaking in from outside," he says, his tone accusatory. "You'd understand why I have to say something." Patrice tilts her head, her eyes never leaving his. "What's your name?" she asks. He hesitates. Dennis Whitlow. I just moved in last month, and I take the rules pretty seriously." She nods slowly. "Well, Dennis, I live here. If you'd like to check the HOA directory, you'll find me listed, Patrice Holman." But Dennis doesn't budge. "You don't have a key fob on you," he points out, his voice sharp. "It's in my bag," she replies, not moving to prove it. His eyes narrow further. "I'm going to call the HOA board and report this," he threatens. Patrice shrugs. "You're welcome to." Dennis doesn't walk away. Instead, he stands his ground, pacing slightly, his presence looming like a security guard on a power trip. "I just think it's odd," he continues, his voice tighter now. "I've been here a whole month, and I've never seen you once. You'd think neighbors would have run into each other by now." Patrice leans back in her chair, unfazed. "Or maybe you've just been looking in the wrong direction." That stings him. He scoffs, his face flushing. "Look, you can make this easy, or we can call security and figure it out that way." She doesn't move. "Dennis, I told you I live here," she says, her voice calm but firm. His tone sharpens. "I don't need attitude." Patrice's eyes lock onto his. "And I don't need to be interrogated at my own pool." "So why not just show me your fob then?" Patrice's response is measured but cutting. "Because I don't owe you anything. I'm not about to prove something to a man who decided I don't belong here before I even said a word." Dennis's jaw twitches, but he doubles down. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. If you have nothing to hide, Patrice cuts him off, her voice steady. Then what? You'll let me stay? He hesitates, caught off guard by her directness. She's spent 25 years in law enforcement, trained officers in de-escalation. She knows exactly what he's doing, trying to control the narrative, force compliance, make her smaller so he can feel taller. I don't need your permission, she adds. Carl speaks up. You all right over there, Patrice? Dennis blinks, looking between them, the realization dawning that she's not the outsider he assumed. But his pride won't let him back off. Patrice sits up straighter, her voice low but piercing. You saw a black woman sitting alone and decided something was off. You didn't ask. You accused. You didn't check facts. You made assumptions. And now you're doubling down because you're embarrassed. Dennis opens his mouth, but nothing comes out. Then what is it about? She presses, genuinely curious. Because you walked over here like a mall cop with something to prove. The pool grows quieter, the tension palpable. A young mom with a toddler steps closer to her child, bracing for escalation. The teenager by the pool lowers her phone, watching intently. Dennis, feeling the eyes on him, straightens his back. You know what? I'll talk to the HOA board. Let them sort it out. Patrice nods. You do that. Be sure to tell them exactly what you said to me when you walked up. That makes him pause. I've lived here 9 years, she adds. Served on the security committee twice. My name's on the HOA website under neighborhood safety. Dennis blinks, his voice quieter. Really? Before he can say more, Florence Godwin, a longtime resident, calls out from her lounge chair. Patrice, you want us to call Ken from the board? He's at home right now. Patrice waves her off. No need, Flo. Just a little misunderstanding, but Dennis's confidence is crumbling. He opens his mouth, but Patrice reaches into her bag. Not for her fob, but for her badge case. She opens it, holding it up for him to see. City of Temecula, Chief of Police, Patrice L. Holman. The gold badge gleams in the sun. Dennis takes a step back, his lips parting, his face draining of color. You were saying something about rules? She asks, her voice calm but unyielding. Dennis stammers, his bravado gone. I didn't realize… Patrice cuts through his excuses. You assumed? Maybe not out loud, but it was loud enough. She stands, her badge still in hand, her presence towering over him. Not because of her height, but because of the weight of her words. You came here to flex authority you don't have, she says. I carry mine every day, but I don't lead with it. Because real leadership doesn't need to be loud. Dennis scratches the back of his neck, his voice barely a whisper. I'm sorry. She lets the silence linger, then responds. You know, it's interesting. You could have had a real conversation today. I would have offered you a soda from the cooler, but instead, you tried to check me like I was stealing time in a space I've helped keep safe for almost a decade. Florence stands, her voice soft but firm. We know who you are, Patrice. Always have. Appreciate you, Carl adds. Pool's all yours, Chief. Dennis turns and walks away, muttering under his breath, his ego bruised but his lesson learned. The toddler squeals with joy, Louise puts his earbuds back in, and the pool resets to its peaceful rhythm. Patrice pulls her sunglasses over her eyes, takes a sip of water, and leans back, her shoulders finally relaxing. The next morning, Patrice takes her usual walk through the neighborhood, the streets cool and shaded at 7 a.m. At the community bulletin board, a printout reads, Know your neighbors, with a photo of her in uniform smiling. Someone scrawled in pen, To the man who asked her to leave, maybe read the newsletter next time. She chuckles, not out of spite, but truth. At the Corner Roast Cafe, the barista Jonah grins. Chief Holman, you've been trending on Nextdoor. Something about a man at the pool getting educated real fast. She sighs, half smiling. I didn't do anything special. Jonah hands her coffee. That's exactly why it stuck with people. A post on the local forum reads, I witnessed something at the community pool that reminded me why respect matters. A woman was harassed for not looking like she belonged, only for her to reveal she was the actual chief of police. Later, a neighbor's son, 9-year-old Mateo, asks, Is it true you arrested a man at the pool? Patrice laughs. No, honey, he was just surprised. It's better to ask than assume. Mateo nods, thoughtful. You're really cool, she smiles. So are you. Patrice Holman's story is a testament to quiet power. She stood her ground at that pool, refusing to be diminished, and her calm defiance spoke louder than any badge ever could. For Dennis Whitlow, her presence was a reckoning, stripping away the assumptions he thought gave him authority. For her community, it's a lesson in respect. If this story moves you, subscribe for more stories that demand respect. And let's keep standing our ground, just like Patrice did.